Rocklaz Radio with Tanmay Shah.
Rocklaz Radio.
Rocklaz.
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 Rocklaz Radio with Tanmay Shah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the spiritual art special space of Rocklaz. Today, it's a podcast recording. So all the works you'll be sharing, talking about, is going to be shared on Rocklaz Radio. Do subscribe if you still haven't. You'll have to subscribe to see to know when the episode is out. So do subscribe, and you'll get to see other episodes also. With that said, we have got some special guests today. We'll be featuring and talking about spiritual art. Last week we spoke about dark art, and today is spiritual. So played some spiritual music. Last week was some very dark and metal music, and we have designed weekly topics, spaces on special topics. You can see the pin on top and set reminders for your favorite ones. And with that, let's begin. We want to know your spiritual journey with art. Tell us about how is your process, how do you combine spirituality and art, or like whatever you want to speak on this topic. So I've been sending invites, whoever is ready to go can begin. Hello, Stefano.
Hi, Tanmay. How are you? Thanks for having me here.
Very good. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks. What about you?
Thanks. Glad you came here. Stefano's was the place 5-6 months ago that I joined. He and Nazim used to host special spiritual art spaces. So yeah, I thought it would be perfect, and he had to be there. So I really insisted him to join, and he's here. So let's hear his views. Nazim, come up. We also have Jason here. So we'll go around and hear from everyone about art and spirituality. Let's go. So for me, if you just want to start with me, then for me, art has been a meditative process, and by spirituality, I mean, for me, spirituality is coming closer to myself, or bringing out my best potential, or being in the state of flow, as you say, a state where you don't feel that time, you are just centered. I wouldn't say the word happy, but centered. You're at peace with yourself. So art always brings me to that state, and I love doing it. It is I try to bring in the art in. I try to bring in it also in many ways. So abstract works have a lot of spirituality. My lot of my abstract work have spirituality in them. Something that words cannot be expressed, something beyond comprehension or what words can say. So you all can find that link in my LinkTree or in the description below. What else? One more thing I want to say is I do this Sahat Samadhi every day. Follow Art of Living, and we do Sudarshan Kriya also. So doing art after that is another experience. Like when you meditate and do art, and it enhances the feel. Like it comes more from within. It comes from your truer self, or without layers. It like strips off the layers, and it comes straight through what you mean to say, or channelized through the universe, as Sabit was saying on his special episode on Rocklaz Radio. So yeah, that's about me. I'd love to hear from you. Let's start with Stefano and Jason, and then we'll have a good discussion. Yeah, let's go. Tell us, Stefano, what is spirituality and art for you?
Thanks, Tanmay. Well, I'm agree with you that the concept of being spiritual is very subjective. So I also see two parts related to spirituality. One is to use art for myself in order to connect what I consider for myself the divine. The divine is for me made of energy, something related to energy. So thanks to my art, what I'm trying to do is to connect to this divine part that is inside me, but also outside me, and I'm not nature. The second part of spirituality, I think, is trying to live a life as more spiritual as possible. My understanding of being spiritual is trying to do something also for the others, supporting the others, trying to do something good for this world, and also to trying to bring a light to the world thanks to my art, if it's possible. I spend most of my time also working as a psychologist 17 years before becoming a full-time artist. That was also an important part of my life where I tried to help people. Now what I'm trying to do is just to use my art since 8 years where I'm a full-time artist to bring light to the world. So my concept related to spirituality is trying to do something for myself in order to connect to the divine part in myself, but also in related to the world, and also to trying to do something good for the world. And I think that just all together we can contribute to make this place a better place. And I'm speaking Tamar.
That's beautiful. I didn't know this aspect about so many years of experience you have in psychology. So now you're using that and art to make a world a better place. And yes, spirituality is subjective and different for others. But I think there's one thing we all can come upon is it is different from religion. It is not a set of rules you should follow or something. It is more individualistic about you coming to a journey of you becoming better and lifting others around you or doing better as much as you can for others and yourself. So yeah, great thoughts. um, Feel free whenever you're speaking, guys, feel free to pin your works on top and drop your work in the bubble, because I'll take the link of this tweet at this thread and put it in the description of the podcast so people can see the artwork directly over there infinitely throughout ages and years to come. So put it out there. And with that, let's hear from Jason. I'm inviting Nazim and Ali and all the others who have joined in to send requests and come up. Over to you, Jason.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I am. So I was thinking about the conversation, and I take pictures mainly of deep space, like galaxies and nebula. And I always kind of thought of it as when we look at the night sky, we're kind of, trying to find our place in the universe, and what kind of connections can we make to the wider uh, you know universe out there, and help us understand where we fit in as humans here on Earth. And it brings up so many questions for me when you're looking at a galaxy. First question I always have is, like, is someone looking back at me and taking my picture, taking a picture of the galaxy, or taking a picture of us? What else is out there? Um, but also, there's nothing quite like looking under a night sky full of stars. It's very calming. And so, like, when I think of spirituality, I think of, like, my personal wellness. And so for me, creating art, doing photography is a way to relax and work on myself, um, and not worry about the stresses of the day, not worry about what's happening, in my day job or anything else. So I think of spirituality as kind of like my personal wellness in a way. And when I'm doing photography, that's when I feel the most happy. That's when I feel calm. That's when I can just kind of focus on the creative process. So, and I can pin up a piece that I just minted actually. Um, so this is M106. It's a spiral galaxy about 25 million light years away from Earth, um, in the constellation Canis Venatici, and spent about I think 3 nights photographing it. But you just look at that and you just wonder, are there other life forms out there in that galaxy? Um, what can we learn from it? And it just sparks my imagination of what else is out there.
Beautiful. And what you said, how you feel when you're doing it, that is precisely what is that is flow. Um, Dr. Chicks at Me High has coined this word, the flow, and all that you described has a one word for it is the flow. It's so glad you get to do this. Many a times people struggle to even find their state of flow. They don't even realize what is the thing that they naturally love doing. So for them, I was in a state once like that. So keep trying different things. Just like be impulsive and do whatever you feel like doing at that moment. Or creating, the aspect of creating definitely brings in a lot of beauty. And deep space, the sky is a very, very spiritual concept. We talk about the universe as listening, and the universe is doing. If you put it out in the universe, the whole universe is going to um, align itself to make that come true. And I always wonder that when I look up at the sky. But you are very lucky to look in the deep space. So what are your thoughts when it comes to the deep space? Or is there what is a conversation going on in your mind when you are looking at these entities far, far away?
I think a lot of different things come to mind. I think one, of course, is always my my hope that maybe we can travel. Maybe not as far as this galaxy, but travel to some place and kind of see a new world. And I've always enjoyed shows like Star Trek and others where you can travel to some place in just a couple hours that's really far away and meet new cultures, and eat new foods and experience new things. So of course that always comes to mind. I think um, I wonder if, like, that all of those other galaxies and nebula are made of the same stuff that we are. And is there something else out there that we don't even know about yet? Um, what are the bigger questions? Like, we're still, from a scientific standpoint, we're still trying to figure out, what is necessarily causing the universe to expand, and we still don't understand everything. There are just so many questions. Um, there was a picture of a black hole that came out a few years ago, the first one we ever were able to capture, and now actually AI is helping us better understand that picture. Scientists are using AI to create a better picture of that black hole. And so, of course, you always wonder, what, what is, what could be through that black hole? Could we ever, probably never, but, if you could go into it, what would it look like? What would it feel like? Um, yeah, I mean, there's just so many questions when you look up there. It sparks in me, a desire to
Hmm.
explore.
So you have a good point. Even in our spiritual journeys, there are so many unanswered questions. who am I, what I'm doing, what is this, or how, why, what is causing us to travel so fast, this the expansion of the universe. And there are these questions for whom we don't have answers really, even on the internet or chat gpt. So when you get these questions, you have two options, right? Either you get frustrated or either you wonder about it. So when these questions come to your mind, how do you answer them? This is for all the people on panel.
If I can try also to give my answer. First of all, Jason, I really love your photography. It's really amazing. The first effect that I have watching these pictures that remember me is how big is the universe is wow. Really wow. How is that possible to see something so amazing like what you are going to photograph now? The second thing that is coming to my mind is that for sure we are not alone in this universe. For sure there are different galaxies, different form of living human of beings that we probably still don't know, no? But for sure we are not alone. The only thing that for sure we can say that we are all made of energy. That is physics, is not science fiction, no? And it's exactly what I'm also trying to do, like you, Jason, to catch this energy and to prove to the world that we are really made of energy and that we are living in a world that is made of energy, because also the human being is made of energy like nature, and we are totally part of this universe made of energy. So we are all connected, we are all interconnected, no? And this is also the goal of my photography, to use a scientific instrument like the camera in order to bring to light to show people that there are energies that we normally cannot see with our eyes, but we need something special in order to see them, like you are doing, Jason, because not everybody is able to see a nebula. You are specialized in that as photography, like me, and specialized in taking picture of the real body aura of a person, the energy that is surrounding our body. I bring in that to light in order to tell people and to show people that we are made of energy, and that sometimes we have to remember us to that, because we have to go more deep in things and in thinking, because just going more deep into things, into thinking, in a way of thinking, we can also improve our state of mind, and we can become more spiritual. We can start respecting nature, the environment. So I think it's pretty important, and just my opinion, to believe that it's possible to bring that to light, in order also a little bit to show that to people, and to make people thinking. That is also the goal of photography. I don't know what you think about it.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think the goal is to make people think and wonder, and I think that's certainly the goal of what I'm trying to do. Capturing things that I can't even comprehend, but you can certainly create emotion in those. And I think that that's something that people have said about my work, is that it just brings out emotions, looking at the beauty of space. Um, and yeah, that vastness, I think, Tenmay, to your point, that vastness can do two things, right? It can make you feel really small and insignificant, or it can make you feel extremely connected. And I think that for me, I feel connected. I feel like, okay, I'm part of something. I'm part of something so really big. I don't understand all of it, but I'm part of it. And so yeah, I think it's kind of like, what, depending on your own spirituality and your own journey, you're going to kind of pick the one or the other, right? Either you feel really small or you feel connected. And for me, I think I've been able to kind of do the latter and feel more connected.
Yes, I'm totally agree with you that we can feel at the same time very small, but at the same also very big, if we think how big and how amazing is this universe. No, what we don't have to do as a human being is to believe that we can to become arrogant, thinking that we are too big because we are in this universe. No, because at the end, if you watch the air from outside, we are very, very little, a little point. So, and this is important to remind to us, because if the human being is becoming too arrogant, is going to destroy everything. No, because is thinking to own this planet that we have, but we don't own anything. We are just part of it, and if we start to destroy that, we are also destroying part of us. That is also, in my opinion, an important process in order to understand spirituality. That we are part of this planet. Is not We are not the owner of the planet as the human beings sometimes are thinking. No? So that is also for me an important process. What do you think, Tamai?
Absolutely. Both the points mentioned about energy at subatomic levels is something we cannot comprehend. Is also energy and matter, which Stefano is trying to show in his art. And I love the colors and the way energy is transferred. So, are those fingers? What are they? What is the three figures in that photo, Stefano?
They are real pictures of I have a device that is able to detect the body aura. So you put the finger on the device, and the device is detecting the energy that is surrounding the finger. No, so what you see is the real picture that I took of the finger put on the device, and so I was taking the picture of the finger with the energy surrounding the finger. No, and the
So, does
concept
it
is sorry, yes.
Does it have different colors for different time of the day or people, or uh, how
Yes,
how does it change?
is not changing too much in the sense that unfortunately is a very old device, is more than 30 years old, that my father left to me, and is just able to detect the energy that is changing sometimes in relationship to the oxygens in the environment, the galvanic conductance of the skin, actually how people are sweating, said that's very easily, no? So the difference of color is not so big, but you can have a bigger crown, yellow crown. You can have more violet color, or the blue part. No, so sometimes it's different from person to person, but the main colors are the yellow one as crown, the blue, and the violet. No, and the concept is that of energy selfie. Instead of taking a selfie with the face of the people, I take a selfie with the finger of the people. So my finger put on the device that is representing my personal energy, my personal identity, is connected to another finger with another energy, another identity, and we are creating a concept of a collective identity because we are all made of energy. So I'm taking a selfie made of energy instead of faces. This is the concept of my artistic research.
That's beautiful. That's very unique and beautiful. And we talk about vibes, right? So we all carry this auras or vibrations, subtle vibrations around us, and we might have found it if somebody is near, and like without you intellectually knowing, you just turn around and see that there is somebody, or somebody is looking at you, you tend to just look at them, and that happens, isn't it? So there I definitely there's different energy, and there have been brain scans to show MRI scans of the head to show different colors for different state of mind, that somebody highly energetic has different colors, and somebody who is feeling a bit dull might show different colors. So we have beautiful, amazing, Stefano. So this is your recent project.
Yes, about the scanner you were mentioning is a big difference, a little difference in the sense those devices you were mentioning, they are kind of scanner that where you have the person in front of you, and the scanner is connected to a computer that is giving an interpretation of what the computer thinks that is supposed to be the aura surrounding the person. So it's not a really catch of the energy and the aura of the person. My device is different because you put the finger inside on it and you really see the energy on the device, and I'm taking the picture with my camera of the finger, so it's a real energy that I'm going to photograph. It's not just an interpretation. So
Yeah, I wasn't talking about a device. I wasn't mentioning any device. I was just talking about a natural phenomena. If you just go around or walk around, like just being in the presence of somebody, you feel different, right? So I was in a company of uh, Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar, who is uh, very well known and amazing spiritual leader. So just being company of people like that, who also are in a way meditating a lot and teaching meditation and many more things. Meditation is a core part of it. But what I'm trying to say is their aura is so strong that it affects you also. So I really, my meditations went much deeper after that. Like in that next week, yeah, I was just thinking of that, and I used to go into meditation. Zup, I used to go into meditation, and despite loud music in satsang. So that was another very one of my main spiritual moments I had. So yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody of you have had your own personal experiences where sometimes your mind is not able to explain. So, but faith or there is something else like intellectually you cannot say, but you feel it in a way. So I'm sure you have had those experiences.
Oh
Hmm.
yes, I'm totally agree with you. But that meditation, also walking into nature, can create a different state of mind. No, in all the culture, we can see that many people try to alterate the consciousness, the state of consciousness through music or taking some, eating some particular mushrooms, for example, no? Or meditating. So it was a way in order to go deeper into ourselves, no, and to alterate our consciousness state, no, and for sure, also our energy that is surrounding us is changing. That, and there are many people. I also met many that are able to see that without any device, not just with the normal eye. Unfortunately, I cannot do that, but I can feel that that is different. I would love to be able to see the body aura with my eyes. No? What I can see is just walking into nature. I see faces. I see faces, different, the energy in different shapes, and sometimes part of my artistic journey was is also to take picture of those faces that I see into natures. No, in the first years as physical artist, photographer, I had the concept to read the legends and the myth of a place, and then to go into the nature where the legends are played in order to take a picture of the characters described into the legends. And sometimes they were very, very similar. And I brought to light amazing faces that were real photograph faces, no, that I saw with my normal eyes, but the camera is not having the process that I have as human being, that my brain is having, that is called interpretation. No? The camera is photographing exactly what is taking. No? So sometimes I was really able to catch amazing faces. Many collectors and people were really fascinated about. Sometimes myself too. No? So I'm agree with you, Tamay, that I think the way that human being is trying to use in order to go more deep inside can be different with meditation, walking into nature, photography, creating art. The art process is also a process in order to go more deep into ourselves, as Jason also was saying before. So we have different way, and everybody can have their own one. No? We are using art, for example, no? And that's big.
The different ways which all lead to maybe one place, different ways of reaching one place. So brings us to another topic about art, and I wanted to discuss symbolisms with you. So Stefano, Jason is here. What in your composition and with regards to spirituality, what is something that you try to capture or add it to your story when the photograph comes in front of you? Did you get my question, or shall I rephrase it?
No, I understand. Go ahead, Jason. Let you speak.
So repeat it one more time because I'm trying to process it.
So spirituality uses a lot of symbolisms, and of course yours are photographs. But in your photographs, are there any compositions or any, like, how do you explain the spiritual aspect of your photographs whenever you click, or what has been your most spiritual photograph in a way?
That's a really big question. um, I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I've ever really thought about it in that way before. So you're gonna have to bear with me. But I think, I was asked one time if there was like, something, if I only had like 10 minutes to come back to Earth after death, what would I want? Where would I want to be? And I said that I would want to be somewhere with like a sunset. Um, I feel like whenever I'm capturing a sunset or a sunrise, like no two sunrises or sunsets are alike, and it just makes me like thankful when I see a sunrise or sunset. This makes me thankful to be alive because I have the opportunity to see those colors. Um, sometimes when you're capturing a sunset or a sunrise, it can almost make you cry. It's like it can be very emotional. Um, if you see just like this beautiful one, and of course, if you have your camera with you, you're probably crying out of happiness that you had your camera to be in order to capture it. Um, but yeah, I think like there's just something about that, sunset or sunrise, and seeing that those colors that um, I just enjoy capturing. Again, like none of them are the same. Like you could capture 1,000 sunsets. You could capture a sunset every day for a whole year, 2 years, 10 years. Every single one of them would be different, even if you shot them from the exact same location. And I think that is pretty cool. In fact, that might be a cool project uh, if someone ever wanted to do that. It's like 365 sunsets from the same location every day. Like even on a cloudy day, go out and capture it and see what you can find. Because I bet that that alone would be a pretty spiritual experience, I think.
That would be so amazing and beautiful. And it's not just the sun and the weathers or cloud, but even the position of the sun changes. I have seen, I've just noticed it, like it goes from west, it goes from north to south, the position of the sun. Like I'm in the tropic region. So I'm sure that when the 360 photographs come, you'll be able to see a pattern of sun going up and down or right or left. So that's very interesting. And sunrise and sunsets have a lot of significance in the spiritual books also. Like I have um, been raised in the family of Hinduism, so yeah, the sun rises specifically more. What do you say? Great time for doing your spiritual practices. But the fun part is there's this book called Meluha, which is about Shiva. It's a fictional book, but the author mentioned there that the Shiva liked to go especially for the sunsets. He wouldn't miss any sunsets of the day. So that's very interesting. Different moods at different times that convey to us. So the same question to Stefano: what was the most spiritual art for you?
For me, also going back to the question about symbolism, I think for me symbols are very important in my art, no, and because I think symbols are related also to archetypes, and the archetypes are a kind of concept that are uh, present in all the people from the moment that we are coming to the world, and they are all the people are casually, I would say, having some the same thinking about particular thoughts, like for example love. Everybody is having an idea of love, or love is the typical archetype that we have now, for example. And I have been invited 4 years ago now to have a very important exhibition related to the Etruscan people. The Etruscan people were, at the time of the Roman in Italy, the people that were able to talk with the divine part, because the priests there were for the Romans were all Etruscan. They were calling the Etruscan because the Etruscans were able to interpret the divine. Also, when the Romans had to have an important battle, for example, they were calling the priestess that were Etruscans in order to interpret the future, no? Reading also the interior of the animals. No? And in this exhibition that I had to do for an important Italian museum, I had to photograph the archetypes that the Etruscan people were having at that time, and that they are still actual in our time. So I had to find out the similarity between both. No? So I explored the concept of love, the concept of beauty, the concept of being a warrior, so different kind of archetypes. And so I went to Tuscany, where the Etruscan people were living most, and I took amazing picture, bringing to light very similar symbols that the Etruscan were having, that I found out of photographing also the object inside many museums. And then I also photographed my own symbols, no? Going into nature, trying in that part and trying to find out faces or something related to love, to beauty. And it was really an interesting um, research for me, and a kind of exploration also. And in that sense, I can say really that symbol is pretty important for me and for my art, because symbols are working also in our unconsciousness, in the consciousness also, and are related to our archetypes that are playing an important role in our life. No? If we think, for example, the symbolic part of the cross of Jesus, just something symbolic, but it's playing an important role for all the people believing in that, for example. No? So also in the religion, we find many symbolism in the Egyptians, for example. At time we have plenty of symbols also in our culture. The Vikings one, everyone was having symbols, no? So I think it's pretty important to photograph and to use symbols in our art. I think
Do
I
you have
answered your
any
answer.
images of those that you can share? I would really love to see those symbols from Nordic or the European side of the world. I have shared a work until then. Everybody is quite popular with mandalas, as everybody knows it. It's a Hindu or Buddhist way of um, its symbolism, which one of the meaning that I resonated was with that from the inside you keep going out, and the reverse, from outside you keep coming in. So that way of looking at things and meditation. So I have created these mandalas, which are 24 different mandalas, which change with time, and their angle and proportion also changes algorithmically. So I've tried to display different elements in it: earth, water, fire, sky, ether. There's some fun things like what do you say, Mona Lisa and other different patterns. So just showing different aspects of life, and this message of spirituality, which I'm trying to give through this is the wheel of time, which is turning, and all things around us keep changing with time. So even the bad times will pass and the good times don't stay for long. So don't worry, just keep living and creating and do what you love doing. So that's what I that's one of the thoughts that I brings me confidence per se. So this is the mandala, the wheel of time from me. S- All
Yeah,
right.
the mandala are very symbolic, uh, are very full of symbol. No? And what is interesting, that in the mandala, that you also created, I see a lot of similarity, for example, to the painting of the Aboriginal of Australia that I had the pleasure to visit and to stay with them for 1 week. And they are doing exactly very similar paintings that are similar to the mandala, now where the circle is playing an important symbolic role, no? And as you say, you can go from outside into inside, representing like our process going from outside, from the surface into our inside, that is more deep, and also to go deeper into ourselves, no? Or also at the same time was symbolizing sitting around the fireplace, that is considered the most important part of the day for them, because they are sitting all together as family, sitting, talking to each other, no? So many symbolic parts are represented, are given from the circle, no? This is a very important part, and I see also some similarity in that in your art, no? It's interesting.
Wow, that's very interesting that you were able to bring that angle to it. We unknowingly around the world have same symbols for many things, right? It must be, it must have been carried on since millennials ago. So those timber symbols have stayed constant with Homo sapiens, I believe. So mandala is one of them. Other one of them is the swastika. Swastik, if you, it is made infamous by Hitler, but it's actually a very pure symbol that we in India use for prayers, and it means many things. It's even there in Persian. You will find those symbols in the swastik in Irani and the Persian area. And these are the two that I know. I'm pretty sure it must be there in the Southeastern Asia and other places. But a lot of common symbolisms, yes. I'm really wondering how the Viking symbols are, or what do the Viking symbols represent, as you said, when you click them. Do you have any of the photos that you can share?
Yes, unfortunately, the picture that I took with many symbols are not on Twitter, but more on Instagram. But yes, I'm agree with what you are saying. That this is exactly what you are saying is exactly the proof that some symbols are related to our archetypes. Because if you think, how is possible that every people, all the people in different times are giving the same meaning exactly to the same symbol? No, it should be something in our collective in consciousness that must be related to all the people. No? So I think that I find that really fascinating. If you think, no, that all the people in different times were using the same symbols and with very similar meanings. No, that's fascinating for me. No, and sometimes also in art, if you think, Tamay, we can find a lot of symbols that are very important. Also, sometimes on the US dollar, for example, they are full of symbols. So you know that, no, that they are full of symbols like the triangle, the eye. So they are also related to symbols. The symbols are playing an important role because they are connected to our unconscious. And as you say, sometimes in the different ages, people were using symbol in order to manipulate the unconsciousness of the people. So using symbol also in art, but not just in art or in the propaganda, you were able to manipulate people because people are going to associate the symbols to a particular meaning. So if you are creating the propaganda that the symbols is meaning something related to a particular meaning, every time that the people are watching at this symbol, they will think about the meaning of it. Now, so the symbols are playing an amazing role in our society, but also in the past. I was thinking now when you were talking to the Egyptians people, they were really uh, using a lot of symbols. No? So I think symbols are really important.
Absolutely. We are also joined in by Sabit, as I was just mentioning in the beginning of the space, that Sabit, the concept of the new universe channelizing through you and coming out on the paper, that is what Sabit was telling us on the Rocklaz radio podcast. Glad he is joined with us. Sabit, come up when you're ready. I know it's very early for you in New York or wherever you are right now, but would love to hear your thoughts on this special space. It's a podcast recording again. We are discussing on specific topic of spiritual arts, and till you come up, Stefano, there is one more aspect that I want to talk. Um, Propaganda and symbolisms have been used. There have been um, like in temples and in Hindu temples in different areas, there is a Tanjore artwork or Pichwai works in Rajasthan. So these are typically representing God or something. It gives you those vibes when you see them out of context also. Like same in the Persian or the Islamic culture, they have amazing geometry and architecture on floors or on ceilings. So that's beautiful to see. That sort of watching those coming in contact with those kind of art also automatically takes you in that state of mind. And I think even many abstract works or many other artworks have the power to create this. Many a times people have different emotions looking at a particular piece, or they might be able to have something opposite, something scary, as well as something very touching or heartfelt. So that is the power of art. And one fun fact I wanted to share: Sabit has made artworks uh, and then realized, I mean, painted people before, like he sketched people sitting in a cafe, gifted it to somebody else, and it was the image of person related to that person, like exactly that. So that is also possible. Like intuition, this brings us to another topic of intuition. Like if you're just going in the flow, what things come out in the artwork? Do they have any meaning from the past or have anything in the future? Like in the dark art space we were discussing, people are talking about their own traumas or how they do, how they put their dark art, dark emotions on the paper to get relieved of it. But then also on the spiritual side, there are things that people use to inspire or come closer to that feeling whenever they look at it. Like we have these um, dream catchers and all. So those are also a kind of way we could talk about it. Yeah, over to you guys. And Sabit is up on the stage. Let's go.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hi, Sabat. Hi.
Hi, Stefano. Hello, Tame. How are you?
Very good. So glad you joined in.
This is a really cool topic. A lot of spiritual art, huh? Um,
Yes.
I think all art's spiritual in some sense, right? Everything is connected, and we're all spiritual beings on this planet doing amazing things. So I love it.
Sabit, can you come closer to your phone, please?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, but it's a very low volume. If you're using headphones, I would suggest to talk directly in the phone.
I'm actually
That,
not. That's interesting that it's really low. Maybe I can get off.
how? Stefano. Do you hear him well, Stefano?
Yes, I can hear him very well.
Okay, cool. Let's just continue then.
It might be best if I don't yell into the phone.
Yeah,
Uh,
so you were saying, yeah.
no, I just think that it's the act of creating is a very spiritual act for sure, and it's a healing act, and uh, I think it did a lot for me growing up, whether it was different stages of my life. There was a period where I used it to get over anxiety and try to use it as an escape, just to get away from people and situations and issues. And to the point where, once that stuff clears up, the act itself is still a spiritual act, but also the messages and things that come through start to be channeled from a different space. Now, you can move up and down on that frequency or on that vibration, and sometimes you might want to just express your emotional stuff and get it out, of course, and then there are other times where you step out of the way, and I think either way it's beautiful. So it's a great topic.
I'm totally agree with you, Sabet, that the process of creating is a very spiritual process in my way of thinking, because we have two parts, as you are saying. No? One is inside of us, where we are connected with our deepest part, no, of our being human. No? And the second part is focusing also in the message that you want to bring from inside to the outside, so to the people, to the observer. No? So we have these two parts related to being spiritual, in my opinion. The process itself is a very complete process, no? Made of different parts. And I really love that artists are able to connect to both of these parts, no? And to feel part of a universe made of energy, as you say, or frequency, that is constantly changing. And probably during the process of creating, we are also changing the frequency, and we know that the colors are made of frequency, the matter is made of frequency. So if we are able to change the frequency, sometimes we can also have miracles, for example. So art can also heal in that sense. Now, what do you think, Sabet?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that happened for me is when I made a conscious decision to paint daily. I had a lot of anxiety and fear and all sorts of stuff that was plaguing me you know, all the way up to the age of 40. And once I started to commit myself to painting a few hours a day, I did start to have a sense of real deep connection to source. What I call the love vortex, which was I was sitting in the middle of a coffee shop, and I could feel like this vortex shape open up above me and just keep me safe while I created in that moment. And even the response to that piece was incredible when I posted it. So people thought it was amazing. And it was probably the first piece, I think, that a few people wanted to purchase and own. So I sold, I think, a print of that piece to someone. And that's when, a lot of the stuff that I had started to dissipate. The more I spent time painting and focusing on what I wanted to do, the less worry, the less anxiety and fear I had, until the moment that I actually had a healing activation where I was able to help others heal actively without the art, and then looking back and realizing that most people used to say that my artwork is healing and it helps them through things and it makes them happy and all of this stuff, and I was doing that unconsciously throughout my process. And later on, I realized that it has that because I'm in an activated state of healing or connected to source while I'm doing these things. And now I can consciously say, hey, yeah, I mean, there is healing properties to the work. And some of it is, a lot of it is channeled, right? Like the love script is a channeled language that flows through me. It's a light language. And, that definitely is the purest form of the healing art that I do, right? And so it's a pretty amazing topic, and I enjoy creating on multitudes of levels. But at the end of the day, It's really us charging surfaces with energy, and you get to decide what kind of energy you want to put down.
Wow, that's beautiful. I really resonate with all the things that Sabit said. We are joined in by Mystic Rose. I'd love to hear from her as well, her or him. I haven't spoken, so I have. Let's find out.
Hi everyone. I
Hello.
just saw hello Tani. Tanmay. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes, Tanmay.
Tanmay. And what's the meaning of your
I
name?
don't see on stage Mystic Rose. You see her?
She is speaking. I think you're not able to see or hear her. Mystic Rose is in the ghost mode for you, I believe. She's a spirit in the space. Uh,
Do you hear me?
Miss, I hear you, Mystic Rose. So Tanmay is a very spiritual name. If you see it in that way, it means uh, Tan means body, and Mai means within it. So it is like within the body, a state of mind where you are looking inward. You are in a state of trance. So that is what it means by Tanmay.
That's fabulous. Yesterday someone asked me why you chose the name Mystic Rose. And I told them it is not that I'm a mystic rose. It's just it's a becoming. Because when I hear others uh, uh, repeat that name into my ears, that's a high vibration, and it helps me to become. So I'm really happy to be in this space because I think I really do vibe with people here.
What are
Um,
your thoughts on spiritual art? Thanks for sharing those, Mystic Rose. That rhymed. Wow. So,
yeah. I think
what
okay, like spiritual art. You see, mm, I really, in my opinion, it is like I really cannot put words are not enough when you walk in that realm to describe it. Maybe we could kind of sense it through the art, the color, the sound. But when we want to describe what it is, we limit it. That's my feeling about it. And if we want to say like it's like a piece of art is high, is spiritual, that one is not spiritual, this one is spiritual. You know what? We are all spiritual beings. It's like a school, isn't it? We cannot say that like a child 7 years old because it's 7 years old is less spiritual than the one who is graduating or I don't know, in university. We are all spiritual. So when I see, for instance, I see a piece of art that I could feel pain from it, that's the stage or the vibration that the artist is, and that's what is projecting in the art. But I don't go with judgment because probably that also helps some other people. And I believe when you get to a higher vibration, you are going to be more aligned with your soul and you're going to create artworks that brings more healing, beauty to the world. That's how I see it.
Yeah, guys, all on the panel, feel free to speak whenever you want. I just want to add to this topic, Mystic Rose, and also Sabit had mentioned when you have aligned yourself with the universe or with the cosmic influence. I mean, within yourself, when you're aligned, the artwork has much higher um, vibrations, and you don't really need to explain it to others. People just feel it, isn't it? Have you had those experience where one art was something that you felt you're doing it completely in the flow without thinking, and the viewer also gets that vibrations out of it? How many times have you had that? Have,
I can I answer that,
I
Tanmay?
think
yeah.
is can you hear me, Tamar? Because I didn't hear anything about. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. 1 second.
Uh,
She's completing her answer. Yeah, go ahead, Mystic Rose.
Yeah. Um, well, if you practice something at least 7 years for a long time, it comes a point that you understand internally that the best way to be is just be a vehicle, even in your art. Meaning that if you put aside yourself, then whatever comes out of you is automatic and is the best. And those pieces are effortless. Like they come so easy, and you think, wow, did I have this inside of me that now is in front of me? So I think those moments of flow is not every day, because then you are going to be disconnected from this life, like physical. But I believe there are moments that it happens, and those moments are extraordinary because the work that you produce, they give birth to themselves through you. So the only thing that an artist has to do is sharpen its ability to express. That's how I feel.
Beautiful. So I'll just repeat for who are not able to hear her. She was telling about just being a vehicle and let it come through you, and let it come out on the paper or whichever medium you use. The creations you have in your most natural state, and she was talking about the beauty of that. So yeah, guys, feel free to hop in. And we are joined in by spiritual scientists. So imagine this space is a big shout out to himself. So, spiritual scientist in the spiritual space. What are your views, spiritual scientist, on spirituality, and art?
First of all, hi Tanmay, and I'm sorry that I'm late. I had a few things that I need to catch up with, but yeah, nice to be in your spaces again. And this conversation, I think, will be a little long because the question requires a very lengthy answer. But for me, I think it's about perspective. Everyone tackles spirituality in their own way, and that is the beauty of it. You can be anything as long as you are being kind. And Mystic Rose mentioned something about being in the flow, being a vehicle of sorts. I think I sort of relate to that. So when it comes to spirituality within art, there's something called autonomous drawing or autonomous painting. I recently got introduced to it, and I think you were mentioning it before as well. It's when you just let it all flow, right? You forget the market, you forget yourself, and you forget basically everything. It's just basically you and your canvas at the moment. So anything that is done through that state of flow, I think it's a spiritual art. It's a very general term. In a sense, all of us here are basically drawing exactly that without us even knowing. But yes, it's a beautiful feeling, and I'm glad that you're hosting this space. We don't really have this kind of conversation very often in the Web3 space.
Absolutely, it's very necessary. And this is something common we all spoke about today, being in the state of flow and talking about it directly from like being the channel and putting it out. Speaking to Sabeth on Rocklaz Radio, also his philosophy of doing art is that he just lets it pass through him, and his works are hence so magical. So, Sabeth, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it got to a point where anytime I put my hand on the canvas or paper, it just was a pass through, right? And uh, if I found myself not trying to express as much if I wasn't in a state of flow, if I wasn't connected, and it just felt better to be free to express what is, right? Uh, in the past few days, I've been actually struggling because I get on the canvas and my thoughts are getting in the way, and I'm like, oh, if what should I paint? Should I be working on this project, or should I just be painting because I want to, or because I want to sell a piece, or and then all of these thoughts start to kind of come into creating resistance through fear and all of that stuff, and all of a sudden I'm like, what am I even doing? So I put it away. I tried to paint like for 3, 4 hours yesterday, and I had so many thoughts coming in because of like the grand scale of what's happening in the market and macroeconomics and things that I usually never even worry about, right? And so I think it's a struggle that we're all kind of maybe facing in this space, especially. Even if you've had good success or not, it doesn't really matter. It could start to affect how you're feeling, and and then it stops the flow. So for me, it's about resetting right now, and going back to, and that's why this space is so cool. It's because it's so timely of what's happening. I think with the collective consciousness in this space.
Beautiful. So, just rephrasing what he said is, no matter the market condition, which you all are relating to right now, and we usually tend to forget when it's bull or when it's high. But whenever, whatever it is, like when it is high, we are in FOMO of creating more, and when it is like this, we are depressed. The other times we are anxious of missing out. These times it is so lethargic and dull on self doubt. So I think this is the best way of trying to do spiritual practices, or like being in always in the spiritual practice and not being affected by the external circumstances, that you can keep creating the best of artworks that you can. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good time to then talk about techniques that you use to come to that spiritual level or spiritual proximity to yourself, because it's thinking and talking about it is one thing, but when it comes to implementing it, I would love to hear your views on what techniques do you use to have that um get realigned and find your spiritual corner to do the work. So anybody can take this question, it's open to the stage.
If I can start when I let our speaking, my way of trying to being spiritual is to be a photographer and to use my camera, because probably I have been taking pictures since I was a child, so it's part of my life. The camera is part of my body, and for me it's important to use that also in a scientific way. So because thanks to the camera, I'm trying to be spiritual, trying to photograph the energies that I see in the nature using this device, photographing the body aura, bringing that to light, also in a kind of scientific way, so to prove to people that for real is existing a world made of energy living around us. No? But as Sabet was saying, for me, taking picture is a way to connect to myself and to try to be trying to be spiritual for myself first, in the sense the artistic process is enabling me to feel well first of all, no. And so the technique that I use is my camera for sure, because I think that the camera is allowing also to me to give a message to the outside world and to reach other people, and maybe, I'm not sure about that, to do something good, to bring light to people. So maybe, as Sabet was saying, maybe that some people get better taking a look of my picture, enjoying the energy that I'm photographing, thinking that they are also made of energy. And it is possible in all the time to transform our energy, feeling better, thinking more positive, feeling positive vibes. So that is the way that I'm trying to use in order to being spiritual. And I'm speaking.
Beautiful. What do you think, spiritual scientist?
Yes, so again, I'll go back to my point that it's all perspective. It all works differently for everyone. For some, it just comes naturally. For some, you just have to force it out of you. Consistency definitely helps a lot if you're hoping to achieve that. First of all, you just don't have to be conscious. You just have to forget that, okay, I have to create something meaningful, something impactful, because that is a lot of pressure on your inner artist, right? You the only purpose that you serve is to have fun. Draw what you like, even if it doesn't have any meaning. Draw triangles, draw circles, draw whatever you want. If it makes you happy, it makes you happy. And eventually through that usually is the first step towards creating something that connects to you, which is truly you. So that is what I do. I just sit and I just draw. It's as simple as that. I don't really think about much. The elements in my drawings, they don't usually have a meaning until they are finished, because I don't really pressure myself. Okay, I'm creating this new element. It has to mean something. No, I just have to create it in the way that it satisfied me. It kind of represents who I am, which is monochrome at the moment. I just want to put as many details as I can, because that is who I am as a person, right? I want more details. I want to indulge myself in a canvas, but then again, that is a part of my personality. Subit might have something else. Stefano might have something else. So yes, that is why I say that it all depends on perspective. So the first step is to knowing who you are as a person and as an artist. When you do that, it just all comes naturally.
Very interesting. Mystic, what do you think? What are the practices or techniques or tools do you use to be more spiritual or be the channel or the vehicle, as you mentioned, for creating art?
Yeah. Um, First of all, I don't think there is such a thing as being more or less. You are what you are at any moment, and there is no comparison, because then you move to past and future. So that part, basically, you are. I can say, when I think about this subject, I say even God created this physical world to adore himself or to adore herself. It needed a mirror so it could look at himself or herself in the mirror and see, you know, what is he made of, her made of. So for me, my art, I am more drawn to figurative art. I did try abstract art. However, I say anything that's figurative, macro and micro, you cannot separate them. But I connect with the physical world, and I don't think there is a separation between the physical world and the spiritual world. I never separate them, because that essence is in the DNA and they are together. Um, for me, the way it happens is when I slow down. When I slow down extremely, so I have one point of focus on a color, on a skin that I'm painting, it just happens. Is that honest to God? Sometimes I don't know how I mix color, because I teach art, and my students sometimes ask me, I mean, don't you give us formula? I say, no, I never give you formula. You just do it, and it will come to you by doing it. And automatically you will blend to create color. So when I paint, I would say, for a skin, I use all the colors of the spectrum to create a skin. It's just a different space that you enter, and automatically um, it creates itself. However, you have to sharpen your skill. If I may, I'm going to tell you guys a story about Rumi, which is
Yeah,
sure, yeah,
famous
it's a nice
poet.
story. Famous
Yeah.
poet and a mystic. There is a story in Rumi Masnavi that it describes that the king wants a different nation to create the most beautiful painting for him. And in this story, the Chinese are the craftsmen, meaning they are excellent at what they do and create in terms of beauty. And the Rumis are described as those who go within. So what happens is this: it's a long room. On the right side, for instance, the Chinese are doing a fabulous painting on the wall, and there is a curtain in the middle. And the Rumis on the left side, the only thing that they are doing, they are taking out the tarnish on the wall, make it shinier and shinier, not drawing a single line. So when the day comes and they take out the curtain, what happens? The king look at the right side, this gorgeous painting by the Chinese. But when the king looks at the right side, he sees the reflection of that painting on the wall, plus himself reflecting in the wall. So that talks all about uh, looking inward and getting out the tarnish from there. Then everything that you do has that essence within it. So that's my story.
That's a beautiful story. Wow. What I'm taking from this to condense is slowing it down and going within yourself and reflect so that it reflects everything around you. And yeah, beautiful, beautiful way of. And what she mentioned highly is there's nothing different. We are all one, subject, object, what you are seeing, what we are within, everything is one. So that's a great point. Sabit, what about you? What techniques or tools do you use to get in the state of flow and be the channel for that art?
So for me, I've been blessed where anytime I sit down, I'm fairly in the state of flow, right? But there are times, like I said, when I allow the outside world to get in and it starts to create resistance, which I'm not used to, which is really frustrating. And for those times, I feel like, like, again, a good example of it is today is like, I need to get this energy out, and I might have to get it out physically rather than going to the canvas or print, start painting with resistance, with the issues that are rising right now. I need to do something maybe more physical. So, because it's the opposite of what I usually do. I'm usually painting or drawing, and I'm having an easy time with it. So once I see that there's resistance, I need to work through that resistance or raise my vibration higher. And the first thing to do is maybe get physical workout. Right now, I'm like going to clean up the studio. I have brand new paper. I just bought finally paper so I can work physically again. I think we're so stuck creating digitally so much in this space that it starts to create a lot of resistance, right? So for me, getting back to inks and watercolors and the physical world is going to be important. But I also need to kind of declutter what's happening in the physical realm for me, and then I can get back to being in flow. So, but there's so many different gateways, right? Being in the now, being in the present moment, as like Eckhart Tolle says, or any of the other spiritual gurus that talk, it's always, trying to get into the eternal now. And there's so many different gateways. You can use art as a gateway. You can use working out as a gateway. You can just stare at your finger for 2 minutes, and the next thing you know, your vibration is high, and you're happy for no reason, which is a trippy thing. So it just depends on the day. I feel like, and you just have to be proactive about it.
Amazing. Yes, putting it out physically, many a times lethargy or many other things change the flow, but the dopamine hit when you do physical activities and workout is very real. So I have been doing that also for the mental health and for coming closer to myself. I have jotted down some more points that I want to really share with you, which has been working for me. Is meditation. I do Sat Samadhi and the Art of Living's Sudarshan Kriya, but everything is same. You can find a way to meditate and look inward. So it's basically meditation is not doing anything. It's not about focusing on something. It's about just seeing as it is and just sitting down and just observing your thoughts. You can observe your breath also, and slowly it starts stopping. So it's like you're sitting in a house with two doors, and people are walking in and getting out of the other door, walking in, getting out. So when you're sitting but you don't react to them, you just observe them. So they keep going, they keep passing, and slowly the number reduces because you're not engaging with them, they're not staying there. So they just move and pass on. It's the same with thoughts, and something you can try while doing meditation. Second is affirmations. This is working big time for me. um, Affirmations, writing things that you want to become or want to do in a positive and present state. You can make a list of that and start telling them to yourself day and night. So it is just a reverse mechanism of the negative thoughts we are boggled down by. So negative thoughts, there's a constant rumination of you're not good enough, or you're not a artist, or whatever. The people have different kind of insecurities for different ways. So just counter that into the positive statement and repeat that. So you're rewiring your brain with affirmations. And one technique that helps to find what is happening is morning pages. I would love everybody to buy this book called Artist Way. I'll also pin it up in a while on top. Amazing, amazing book. It is a workshop rather. So two major activities are morning pages. So this is just something you have to do every day, but there are many, many, many more exercises and essays in the books. So morning pages is just waking up in the morning and you start writing, speed writing whatever is in your mind. So I like this, I like that, I don't like this is happening, that is happening, and this is not to be shared with anybody, it's just for you. So some things which are constantly repeating, okay, there's a problem over here, so maybe you can focus more on that, or create a reverse self affirmation for that. Second is artist date. I had never really heard of this concept before reading this book. Artist date. You need to go on a date with your inner artist. Leave the place you are at most of the time. Get out by your own self, no spouse, no kids, and do some fun activities. This is for your inner child. So play something, or go in the nature and create something out there. And if you just Google, you'll get a big list of what can be done on artist date. You can just treat yourself to whatever delicacies you have and spend 1 hour of doing that. Play with colors or do some material shopping, as somebody finds well. There are different things that you can start rewarding yourself. It's really individualistic. So I love chocolate milkshakes. So whenever I want to reward myself, I have a chocolate milkshake. So artist date, learning and doing something new. And there is one problem that I wanted to share. Okay, and one point that artist spirituals said was, when you're trying to start with a mind that I need to create something good, then this needs to be sold at this price. It has to sell. So that time nothing comes out good. But when you start with this thought, okay, let's create something stupid today. Let's just create something stupid. So this liberates you from any of those things. You just start creating. And I think this question, this just one thought of I want to create something stupid today, brings in that flow of state. And there's this next question and problem which I'm having that I want to share with others. When you're just learning something new, Suppose with pen and paper, I am very good at flowing or doodling or just being in that state. But when it comes to new tools, suppose I'm learning 3D and there are some tools that I need to learn, which is more of a learning exercise, intellectual thought, in which I don't feel a lot of state of flow. I'm not able to reach there because I'm still in the learning phase. So, if you're trying something new like that, what do you do to get in the flow of state even when you're doing something new or learning something new? This is the next question for the stage.
I think bringing joy to the process, like instead of expecting it to bring joy to you, you bring the joy and acceptance to the process helps. Um, Obviously, it's really difficult when it's something you've never dealt with before, but like having that sense of awe every time you find like a new technique, or you're like, oh my God, I can do this with this tool. I think once you bring that sense of awe and joy into it, that you might not get into a flow state for but you might be in a state of joy while you're learning and then applying that technique right away to something that you're doing that you know how to do, and go, oh, I know what to do with this, and then right away implementing it as a way of practice. Again, that also helps you get into that state of flow. But it's about you making a choice of um, not resisting the process of learning, and then utilizing it right away to bring joy to the process. I think that's the best way I can explain that.
Wow, that was beautiful. I'm glad this space is recorded. Bringing joy to the process and not expecting to be in the state of flow. And wow, this is so good. Yes, Stefano.
Oh, I'm totally agree with what Sabay is saying. And for me, for example, being spirituals, it also means to be patient. No, I mean, what I learned in my life is that as artists, you should be very patient. And when you are start learning something new, you should be very patient and to be conscious about that fact that we have to be patient. So it is important also to add curiosity. Curiosity is a big instrument that we have in order to add joy to what we are doing. No, so learning something new, being conscious that you take your time in order to learn something new that can be helpful for your art, for what you are creating. So being very patient, adding also curiosity and joy, I think is the best mix in order to start using something new that it takes time to learn. That is my idea about how to learn something new. And I'm speaking.
And that's another beautiful way of looking at it. Thank you. What are your thoughts? Spiritual works in technology, so would love to hear from him. And also, Mystique, um, yeah, share what thoughts would you like to share? And people in the audience, uh, I hope you're feeling comfortable. Please request and come up if you want to add any point to any of the points spoken in the conversation. Yes, spiritual or Mystique. Um, or do you want me to move to a new question?
Will you repeat your question?
When you're learning something new or doing something new, you don't immediately feel like in the state of flow. It feels like failure in the beginning, right? Like I'm not getting this technique or this is happening. So that causes a lot of frustration. So it's not always that you're painting or doing something that you have that spiritual experience out of doing it. So what do you do at those times?
Um,
Did
First
you
of all,
understand or
I kind of, but it is a very long questions, But I think learning uh, to me has nothing to do with spirituality. Learning is a function that my brain can do, and because of my intelligence, the way I learned how to study something, going to school, stuff like that.
Mystique, let
Spirituality
me.
is a state of being.
Okay, 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 get it. So you are separating spirituality from learning. Okay, that's a bigger, broader
No, no,
perspective of looking at it.
it's like you telling me like um yeah, learning. You know, when a child is born, okay, like automatically with the genes and everything, it it comes with it. We have that structure inside of us, but I don't. Maybe we could use some tricks and learn some stuff to try to kind of open it up. But I think that's why many people, you know, study spirituality. They go to a guru, to an ashram. In the Western society, there is this New Age spirituality. We all study these things, look at the writings of the mystics, all this stuff. So it opens the door for us. But even at that stage, I I feel is still learning. You know, that's learning. But the arriving happens naturally. It has nothing to do with learning. So when you talk about like, okay, if you do a work and you're frustrated, well, then I try to put more joy in it, or take a rest, take a walk. I don't think these are specifically something very spiritual. I really don't see the connection. Sorry.
All right. So, spiritual scientist, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, what you just described, Tanmay, is that usually happens when you're in conflict with your own brain and with your own heart. So I think if that is what you're experiencing, you shouldn't be drawing in the first place, and you should focus more on mending that relationship within yourself, because this only happens when you're far too critical of yourself and you're comparing yourself with others, that with every stroke you want it to be perfect. It has to be top notch 8 year, but that is very unrealistic. That is not a human expectation. You're not a machine. The joy of creating is in the process. It has always been, and the process comes with trust, right? So if you are under conflict in your head, because our head is that way, and usually it happens when it's envious or it's jealous with other people, right? Or that person can do X and Y and I cannot do it, so I expect myself to be perfect with every stroke just to be on par with that person. But that is us being very unrealistic. We don't see the years of practice that that person has gone through to actually achieve that. And you might not even achieve that because that is not you. So first of all, if you're experiencing that, you need to mend the relationship with yourself. And what you mentioned before, going out on a date with yourself, I think that is a very good practice to have. You just have to know yourself. I keep bashing on this point again and again because it's very important. Self-awareness brings out very genuine art, very genuine creations, right? Only people who are self-aware can actually find their own style. They can find what makes them happy when it comes to art. So if you're being that critical of yourself, I think there is a conversation that needs to be had between you and who are you within. And the moment when you mend that relationship, then you'll actually notice that you're not being critical of yourself again. Even if your stroke is very wobbly, it's not a straight line, you'll still have fun because now you're in tune with yourself. So if you're actually experiencing all of that, step away from the canvas. It's okay to take a break. This is a very this is a very superstition in this space, that you can't take a break, you have to put out work every single second. No, we can't do that. That is not realistic expectations, right? You put out work when you're ready to put out work, and you put out work when you're happy with it, but you put out work when you're extremely satisfied with it, and when you've like taken yourself to the next level. And that is how it should be. We have all created these unsaid rules about minting every day, creating every day. An artist, a human artist, cannot do that. If you need genuine creations, you have to let it take its time. Only then you'll discover new things about yourself. And when you discover new things about yourself, you'll actually discover that you start to create new elements brings out new creations brings out new you. So it's a long and arduous process, but it begins with knowing yourself. So if you're feeling that, it's a sure short sign that maybe the self-awareness part
Absolutely.
is not there.
Thank you. That's a beautiful thought. I want to drive the conversation as I shared my challenges and how we are overcoming it. I would love to hear your challenges, all of you. What challenge you have faced on this spiritual journey, and how are you trying to figure it out, or have you overcome those challenges?
Not
I guess.
everyone at once.
Okay, just
Uh,
let's go.
Tanmay, can I only say one thing? I think the biggest hindrance is judgment. Honest to God, for me, because we are all born within a culture, within a specific family tradition, and when you're very young, you think what your religion says or what your community says, what your country is, that is the best of the best of the best, and little by little, uh, basically you're molded through what culture wants to put into your head. So I think later on, even stuff that you consider profane and you judge, they are all wrong. This is, I think, is the biggest challenge for anybody, to not judge. That's my personal lesson, I think, that I've learned.
So you have faced judgment from the society as a struggle, as a challenge, um, and you have been able to overcome that. Yes,
No, it's not.
Stefano.
It's not. Not sorry. Not
For
not
me, the
not that
biggest
you judge.
challenge,
One second, Stefano. Hold on. Yes, Mystique.
Not
sorry,
that you are being judged, but also you judge other people.
Uh,
We don't. We are not here to fix others. We are here to fix ourselves.
she said about judgment from both ways, not just about society judging you, but you also judging the society. Okay, Stefano.
can you hear me? Because I have a little delay. Can you hear me, Tamai?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sorry. Now, for me, the biggest challenge is with myself, in the sense is trying to be authentic in my spirituality. As Mystic Say was saying before, I don't separate the material part from the spiritual part, the non-material part. I try to bring them together in my life, being authentic in the sense that if I'm trying to be spiritual inside myself, I also should do something concrete in the outside world in order to be authentic in the same way where I'm trying to be spiritual inside. Because for example, I saw many people in my life that were very spiritual praying at home, and then they were killing people outside. No, I'm trying to be spiritual inside with myself, where I'm trying to connect with the universe, universal energy, but also trying to do something good outside, because this is also the concept for me of being spiritual. So this is for me the biggest challenge, to be authentic with these two parts, putting them together and bringing my duality into unity, doing something good for the world, in order to trying in my little as I can to create a better world. That is my sense of being spiritual, and also the biggest challenge for me, using also my art. And I'm speaking.
Thank you. Sabit and Spiritual spoke at the same time, so whoever wants to go first, let's hear. Okay, let's hear from Spiritual in case you both speak again together.
Okay.
So,
So yeah, when you're on that journey, you will. Inevitable that you'll face a lot of challenges. It depends how dedicated you are or how determined you are to actually see what lies at the end of it all. And usually it's a higher version of yourself, which is again well worth the effort. The challenges I faced was something that you mentioned, Tanmay. I was very critical of myself. I entered the space, I started doing art a little over a year ago, right? And I came into this community where people have like 10s and 15 years of experience, and I was expecting myself to compete with them. And compete is, again, I realize, is a wrong word in this community. You don't really compete as per se, you just thrive together. So that was the first mistake I made. I started comparing myself with people who have had longer experiences with art. And the moment I rectified that, it was the moment that I found myself. Then I just started doing things that made me happy. I stopped going to spaces. I stopped, you know, marketing as per se, and I put my focus into finding myself, what makes me happy, and what kind of art uh, that I make will actually take me furthest along. Because again, if you make art which doesn't make you happy, you'll get burned out in a few months, and then you're gone for good. But if you make art that actually makes you happy and it's a representation of who you are within, then the art is going to go for years, regardless of how many bears and bulls come in. You're going to keep doing that, and that is going to reflect in your portfolio. And I looked at the longer game, the longer term, and when I shifted my mindset over there, I think that is where it actually began. That is when it started working out for me. I found my style. That was also that is another superstition of the space, that you need to have a style. When you find it, this is the funny thing about style, the art style, right? When you try to find it, it never comes to you. Only when you try to find yourself, the art finds you as well. It's a very complicated relationship between the two. But yeah, if you are out looking for your own particular art style, maybe you'll never find it. You just have to be patient, lay low, and you have to find yourself, and eventually it'll find you. So yeah, the first obstacle that I faced was comparison. So wherever I go, I just tell people to not compare yourself with other people, because you don't know their journey, they don't know yours. It's like apples to oranges. You can't really compare both of them. So yeah, that
Uh,
was.
this is an important point I have actually included in my affirmation. So I counter this by two quotes. So I compare myself only to who I was yesterday, and I celebrate the success of others on their own journeys. So we are all individually are on our own journeys. So different, we come from different backgrounds, paths, tools. Everything is different in their own journey, but just being happy for their progress in their journey, and comparing yourself to who you were yesterday, not to somebody else today. So yes, thank you, spiritual. Sabit, what have been your challenges in the spiritual art path, and how did you overcome them, or um, what are your thoughts?
You know, for me, it's been more of the physical realm being a challenge, right? I agree with judgment, being a challenge, judging yourself, judging others, or being afraid of judgment. I mean, those things, whenever I tell people how to create or, help them with their creations, I always say don't judge what you're creating, and do what you got to do. So I totally agree with Mystic and everyone else. But for me, my personal challenges have been really physical, right? In the past few years, even though I'm spiritually able to and emotionally able to get out of the way and allow the creations to come, I haven't come into my physical studio for at least a year, or since we moved into this house. My physical studio is the garage, and it's just become a storage unit, and it's because I'm having issues with my physical being, right? My hip, my hip making it hard to walk. I didn't go to New York this year because I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be limping around New York, even though I have, so many positive things that could have happened if I went to NFT NYC, or, so, my weight, having challenges with my weight and getting down on myself because no matter what I do, the weight doesn't fall off. So there's some sort of connection to that, and wanting to, just that desire of wanting to move freely about the universe around the world, and having those physical challenges right now as I get older. um, but from an emotional standpoint, I think that's a drain. It starts to drain you. It starts to take away from you, and you have like all this time now that you're spending on trying to like relieve the tension in your legs and things like that. So um, that's been my challenge, handling the physical. And if I had taken care of myself earlier and not always been in my head or always drawing or painting, and actually spend a couple hours a day, working out or moving or walking or eating better and things like that, the consequences of this, which is right now, with arthritis in the hip and, having physical issues, would have been a lot easier. Now, the funny thing is that I can help a lot of people with the same physical ailments by just snapping my fingers, and their pains go away, but it's really, really hard and difficult for me. So I think that's the place where I've been, the topic that I keep coming back to today with you guys. Personally, it's more of the physical realm, whether it's finances and worrying about money, or the physical stuff. That stuff always becomes the way, and the way out is to be present and be in the moment.
Beautiful. Just a segue and a comment on Sabit in the fashion show in LA. He looks so dope with this hoodie on and with that stick. Were you carrying that stick as a part of the fashion, or was it because of the hip?
It's because of the hip. I'm literally like walking around with a magical staff now. It's ridiculous,
Yeah,
but I
it
have
looks so
to.
cool though.
Yeah. Yeah, it fits the process of what I've gone through. A few years ago, I had a full head of hair. I didn't really care to have a wizard beard, and then the healing stuff started, and then next thing you know, I'm limping, and I'm growing a beard, and my entire head just went bald like instantly within like 2 months or something. And so my friends say if this hadn't happened to you, maybe people wouldn't trust you when you were doing healings on them. So I don't know. Everything happens for a reason, so you can't resist it.
All right, absolutely. Everything has a meaning, or it just unfolds, basically. So next, let's discuss this. I really want to know what what are some spiritual art creators that inspire you, and why?
Spiritual artists, again, that's a very loaded statement, because I believe every single one of us is a spiritual artist. Uh, there's ones that you look at, and it moves you, and you can see that layers of information in their stroke, and that's incredible. And then you have people who move you in a different way. I From the dead artists, I love Basquiat, because of his relentless energy. Right, he never stopped, and he was consistently creating these magical, in-depth, informative pieces. You have Picasso, where he was also unrelenting, but maybe he wasn't the nicest person, right? So how is that vibration affecting his work? And those are the things I'm interested in looking at. And then you have people today, artists that are like our friend Ishida. I don't know if you've ever seen her work. It's just vibrant and lovely, and you can feel her energy and her confidence in her line. You have Gabe Weiss, which also has this way about him and his art that has connected to a lot of people, right? I'm not necessarily a cubist, or I understand the art form, but from the perspective of his energy and how he pulls people in, it's been incredible. So those are the kind of art that I like. But I'm I fall in love with every single person that I meet in the art world. It's really just that natural. There is times where I've walked into spaces, physical spaces, a gallery, for example, once or twice, where I have seen the vibration of the thing before I even knew what vibrations were, where the art made my skin crawl, right? I mean, it scared the shit out of me, and I had to run out of there. I mean, it made me almost want to vomit. I mean, there has been the opposite of it as well. And I didn't understand that. When I look back and I go, I never believed in like true evil, but then there's times where you see things like that, and you're like, oh wow, it's out there.
Wow, so nice to hear that story. Um, I have pinned up the work. The book I was telling about, the artist way. So in the meanwhile, as we're speaking, listeners and others on stage can have a look and get a copy for yourself. You really need to get and do this workshop. You'll really enjoy this. This is a book I got gifted by somebody, so I feel it's my responsibility to give it forward. So I'm making you aware about this. So do get yourself a copy. With that said, Stefano and Mystique, what are your thoughts on that question? What are some works of spiritual artists that have inspired you, and why?
Well, I can say I really like the work of Alex Gray. I think it's extremely unique, and like there are so many dimensions to his art. So
Mystic
if
first.
She's speaking. She's speaking.
do you want me go out, come back, because it seems people cannot hear me.
Okay, let's try that. Poor Stefano. Do you want to answer that, Stefano, till Mystic comes back?
Sorry, I'm really apologize because I have this delay that sometimes I'm speaking over another
Okay,
person.
okay,
Can you?
okay. She's back. She's back. She's back. Let me
Okay.
invite her to the stage. Yes, Mystique, speak something. Mystique,
Yeah. Do you hear me now?
did you hear that, Stefano?
No, I don't hear her. I also don't see her on stage. That's the problem for me.
Okay, that's then the Twitter problem. So never mind. Mystique, please continue. I'll repeat to Stefano.
Okay. I said that I like the work of Alex Gray. I think it's very exceptional, and he's truly a spiritual person with his wife. We are a team, and you could see so many layers of different dimensions in his art. Um, and the thing that I like is that because I'm a figurative artist, his work is also everything in such a beautiful
Mystique, you're
mandala
kind of getting
relationship. So
rugged.
I really like him.
Mystique, hello.
Should I go
Mystique, can you
out
hear
again?
me? Can you hear me, Mystique? I think you're rugging. But Stefano, what she said was she loves the works of Alex Gray. Wow. I am so glad to have discovered this artist. So vibrant and full of colors. These works are truly magical and psychedelic in a way. I love this. Thank you for introducing me to this artist today, Mystique. Thank you. Okay. S- Yes, so we saw the work. Can you just okay, Mystique? Can you just repeat why do you like his works?
I said because I'm a figurative artist. He is also a figurative artist, and he also deals. When you look at his art, is all about the human body. That it's such an amazing vehicle to express the spiritual, the essence, the soul. So, and you could see all these mathematical mandala in his works. I mean, it's like the whole universe is in the human body, and he portrayed that so well. Also, another artist that I really love when I was studying fine art at university is Kandinsky, and he has a book called Concerning the Spiritual in Art. And that truly moved me at that time to understand that uh, so many years ago. He really, and he is the first person who did abstract art. So the first complete abstraction artist is Kandinsky. So it's a very short essay that he wrote about art and the uh, what the colors are telling you, talking to you about, the meaning of each line that you put there. And that's the title of his book, Concerning the Spiritual in Art. So these are my two favorites.
Oops, I was speaking with my mic closed. So, Stefano, she mentioned about Candency's essay on spiritual art. So, I'll just bring up a summary of that and read it out after you share about which spiritual artist you like and why.
I also love Kandinsky a lot now, but I also think that many artists can be considered spiritual artists in different way. But there is an artist that was always part of my journey, that is Michelangelo, because Michelangelo was saying that he was trying to represent beauty, because beauty is the only way to get as more possible near to the concept of God. Is the only way. God is perfect, but the only way trying to be as similar as possible to God is to represent beauty. And I think is for me it was always an important concept, because beauty means to represent the balance of the elements, not to bring beauty to the world. It means for me also to bring some light, to bring something that can be helpful for the humanity, for people, no? And there are also some photographers that inspire me, like Sebastian Salgado, that was able through the camera to express many particular story that were happening in this world, no? And the way that he was doing was really fascinating for me. So I have these two particular artists, but let me say that the biggest influencer and artist and creator is for me nature. Nature is inspiring me totally during all my journey here on this earth. I'm done speaking.
Thank you. And yes, Michelangelo, everybody knows about the brilliance in his works. And I'm going to check out the photographer you mentioned. Can you just write his name in the bubble? I'll pull him up. And this is the Candency, what he wrote about concerning the spiritual art in 1911 in one sentence. Candency argues that art should be expressive of the artist's inner emotions and that the art should strive to communicate these emotions to the viewers. Isn't that beautiful and just what we have been discussing throughout today? Did I speak with my mic closed again? Guys, can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Did you hear that? Hello?
I just heard a part of that, but I was trying to find out Salgado.
Okay, so one more thing I'll say. He considered colors and shapes to have a spiritual essence, which could be used to invoke emotions and feelings in the viewer. In this book, Tendency stresses the importance of artists breaking away from the traditional forms of style, instead exploring new methods of self-expression in order to create truly spiritual artwork. Today, concerning the spiritual in art is considered a seminal work to the history of modern art and its important text for anyone interested in spiritual dimensions of creative expression. So, this is a beautiful recommendation. Totally, I'm going to read. Thank you for this mistake. Cheers. All right. So, we are coming to the end of this podcast and space today. I would love to hear your concluding thoughts and remarks. And then I have one question which is separate from this space, so I'll chop it off from this. But what are the thoughts? What are the concluding thoughts that you want to share with the audience today? All of the panelists. This is to all of the panelists. Any closing thoughts or remarks? Just throw an emoji.
Hey, I think that, look at me. I'm already feeling happier as I clean out my garage. So, you know, you got to do what calls out to you. I woke up today not wanting to do anything, and you got to follow the the voice. I wasn't going to get out of bed, and then your space opened up, and it put me in a good mood to be able to get out of bed and come down and start cleaning out the studio so I can actually get to work. So, follow your heart, do what you got to do, and you know, just it's everything you do is spiritual. So just stay connected, stay in the present moment, and do all the things that we talked about today, no matter how hard it is.
Beautiful. Wow. Yes, Mystique.
My suggestion is whatever you do in life, always smile.
Uh, Whatever you do in life, always smile.
Even in the most terrible time, try to smile. You're going to melt down. Your anger is going to go over. You're going to laugh at yourself. So smile more.
Yeah, that's like reverse engineering, right? Even if you're not happy, smile and you will feel happy and you laugh at yourself. So that was a pretty cool suggestion there, Mystique. Thank you. Stefano, what do you think? What are your concluding thoughts or remarks?
First of all, thanks for this amazing space. It was really nice to be here with you. Now, second, I would say let's keep on creating and being creative, but also to be authentic and to do something concretely for our life and for trying to make also the life of our people better. Also, here in the spaces, in the NFT space, is important to be authentic, trying to be spiritual, so to help each other, to support each other, and to do something also concretely for people inside here. That is for me very important.
Thank you. I would say this space was so happy and coming at a right time. We discussed so many thoughts and solutions and techniques to overcome challenges. And yeah, I think this episode can be heard over and over whenever somebody is feeling a bit low. And also feel free to reach out to all the panelists. I will drop a link to, you can connect them on Twitter. So please do that. And I would request the panelists to drop your artworks in the bubble on the right side so that the podcast viewers can have a look at those works as well. So I think Sabeth and Mystique have not done it yet. I'll do it for you. Don't worry. I will do your pin tweet. Okay. So thank you everyone for tuning in. If you love the show, you can support it by many ways listed in the description. You can be a Rocklaz Club member. You can also get a merchandise, a t-shirt or a hat or whatever you want. We are also open to sponsorship. So yeah, reach out to us for that. Let's go.